Picturesque rural paintings had grown in popularity during the 1780s. We find that Gainsborough, Wheatley, Moreland, and Stubbs became noted for these. George Stubbs painted two works in 1785, The Haymakers and also The Reapers. These works were both oil on panel, 35 inches by 54 inches. They were painted when the artist was 61 years old. These were his only exhibition pictures in 1786, and his first exhibition painting since 1782, when 5 of 7 of his works were shown at the Royal Academy as enamels. He probably used the intervening period to diversify his work, to make it more publicly appealing. Stubbs actually painted less refined versions in 1783. Here he has improved on natural and unforced groupings that are carefully thought out. These were first exhibited at the Royal Academy in 1786, and in 1787 they were sent to his native Liverpool, where they were exhibited in the second show of the Society for Promoting Painting and Design. Then they were engraved in 1788 and 89, became more popular at that point. This work, The Haymakers, was based on preliminary drawings from nature. Although he freely arranged the landscape in the background, he based his figures of reaping and stacking, raking and loading from life itself. These paintings focus on direct, unsympathetic observation of work in the countryside, with little or no narrative content. In these later works, laborers take center stage and occupy the painting as fully and less self-consciously as did the upper-class sitters. There is also a rhythm that suggests the repetition, the action of manual labor. And so we see this action and repetition in these figures that are bending and standing alternately. They are doing this in a parallel row in the front plane. This is Thomas Gainsborough, Cottage Girl with Dog and Pictures, of 1785. It's an oil on canvas, 68.5 by 49 inches. It's in the National Gallery in Dublin, Ireland. This is the same girl who posed for other works, like the famous Girl with Pigs of 1782. Here she stands in the middle of an anonymous landscape, barefoot, dressed in rags, dog in one hand, and she's clutching a broken earthenware jug with the other. Her expression is downcast. A cottage in the left distance, we see sheep in the middle right distance. The painting sold to Sir Francis Bassett, B-A-S-S-E-T-T, soon after its completion. And it's a relatively good-sized painting that deals with rural child poverty. There is a sympathy for those in gentility who fell into poverty. Gainsborough's Cottage Girl, after all, displays commendable industry. Rich are moved by compassion, and the poor are melted into gratitude by the sight of distress or poverty. Compassion and gratitude seems to bring classes together. In this particular painting, we see that this young girl cares for her pet. She is doing her chores. She's watching the sheep for another family, perhaps a neighbor. Gainsborough, Charity Relieving Distress of 1784. We see the Italianate architecture of 17th century France, which dissociates the scene from the present England. We see a view into a courtyard reached by the steps, against which rests an introductory figure. A woman, a baby, and 4 other children. The older boy fends off the dog, who's frightening his younger siblings, and he receives into his basket the food that the servant tips from a pewter plate. The servant is careful not to spill the food. This picture appealed to the middle-class sensibility, that is, sensitivity to social and moral problems brought on by economic change. There is a belief in a sense of right and wrong, as well as the innate goodness of humanity. Virtue is no longer patrician, civic, or abstracted, but it is private and practical. Note in this painting how the poor family is drawn more quickly and freely than the servant, who is more tightly clothed and whose facial features are more refined. The doves who are perched above the courtyard are a symbol of the Holy Ghost of peace, or of Christian identification of this charitable act.